He was built to destroy, blessed by Lord Shiva, armed with a god weapon. And then he crossed a line no man should. Even death rejected him, and he still walks among us. This is the epic story of Ashwatthama, one of the most enigmatic, powerful, and tragic figures of the Mahabharata. He was a soul wrapped in both blessing and curse. Ashwatthama. His name was not just spoken, it thundered across the realms the moment he was born. He was the son of Dronacharya, the martial guru to the princes of both the Pandava and Kaurava clans, and his mother Kripi, a woman of divine lineage. Dronacharya was the master of advanced warfare, and Kripi was the sister of Kripacharya. Ashwatthama's early life was steeped in poverty. Dronacharya, despite his vast knowledge of warfare and scriptures, had no wealth. Ashwatthama's family lived in simplicity, often going hungry. One day, unable to bear her child's starvation, Kripi gave Ashwatthama a paste of flour and water, pretending it was milk. But the child did not accept this ruse and cried more. That primal echoing hunger of his child changed the very arc of fate. It pushed Drona, proud but impoverished, to seek assistance from his once beloved friend, King Drupada. But friendship and power rarely coexist in harmony. Drupada, seated high on his throne of ego and opulence, laughed at Drona's plea, saying, "Friendship exists only among equals. You are a beggar, I am a king." The insult carved a wound so deep in Drona's soul that it bled into the future, setting in motion a saga that would ripple through generations. Determined, Drona approached the kingdom of Hastinapura. There, Bhishma recognized his talent and appointed him as the royal guru to the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Before Ashwatthama was even born, his very existence was forged through divine longing and worship. According to ancient lore, Dronacharya and his wife Kripi were unable to conceive a child for many years. Their sorrow, though silent, was profound. In their quest for a child, they undertook intense penance and worshipped Gopeshwar Mahadev, the Swayambhu Shivling nestled in the mystical hills of Himachal. Moved by his devotion, Shiva granted him a boon. A part of his own essence would be born as Drona's son, Ashwatthama. When Ashwatthama entered the world, he did not cry like other children. He neighed like a war horse born of thunder. The sound echoed with a force that shook trees, startled sages in meditation, and even caused celestial beings to pause. Ashwatthama, he who has the voice of a horse, a name bestowed not from affection but from divine astonishment. This was no ordinary birth. It is whispered that Lord Shiva himself blessed the child, imbuing a portion of his immense cosmic energy into the boy. In the center of the forehead of this little child shone a mani, a radiant gem of celestial origin. It was a celestial gem glowing with energy. It granted him protection from disease, hunger, thirst, and fear. As long as the gem remained, Ashwatthama was invincible. But all power in the Mahabharata comes at a price, and his was yet to be paid. Before I continue, let me tell you that these stories that I bring to you come from belief, folklore, and tradition. Some from ancient holy texts, others that have been retold over time. My aim is to share the magic, not to do a scholarly debate on manuscripts. Listen with your heart and immerse yourself in the small corner of spirituality and wonder, a refuge from an online world that often feels too materialistic and harsh. Ashwatthama grew up within the hallowed walls of Drona's ashram, alongside the greatest warriors of the age, Arjuna, Bhima, Yudhishthira, Nakula, and Sahadev. Yet even among those luminaries, Ashwatthama stood apart. Arjuna, Drona's most beloved disciple, learned with quiet focus. He worshipped discipline, revered dharma, and obeyed his master with unflinching loyalty. Ashwatthama, by contrast, was tempestuous. He thirsted not just for skill, but for dominance. His training was rigorous and his mastery vast, but his temperament troubled even his own father. Arjuna's dedication, humility, and divine talent made him Drona's favorite. One day, Arjuna was practicing at night, and Drona saw him losing arrows by candlelight. Inspired, Drona declared, "You shall be the greatest archer on earth." Ashwatthama noticed this favoritism. Though he did not hate Arjuna, a silent rivalry began. Deep inside, Ashwatthama believed that he, the son of Shiva, deserved that title. Drona, recognizing the flicker of uncontrolled fire in his son, taught him all, but withheld the mantra to retract Brahmastra, the deadliest weapon in all creation. For Drona knew that a weapon is only as wise as the hand that wields it. Among the Kauravas, Ashwatthama formed a close bond with Duryodhana. Their friendship was more than political, it was deeply personal. Both saw in each other a shared sense of injustice, a fierce sense of loyalty, and an undying will to win. As Drona trained his celestial pupils, he had not forgotten Drupada's insult. A day came when he demanded Guru Dakshina, a tribute to the Guru, from his students, to defeat and humiliate Drupada. Arjuna led the charge, defeating Drupada in battle and capturing him alive. Drona split Drupada's kingdom in two, half returned to him and the other half kept by Drona as revenge. Drupada, humiliated, would later perform a yagna to beget a son who could kill Drona. That son was Drishtadyumna, and the daughter of that same fire, Draupadi, would become the wife of the Pandavas. Time passed, and then the epic moment came when the great war of Mahabharata began. Then Ashwatthama stood by the Kauravas. His loyalty was not to righteousness but to his father's allegiance, to old grievances, and to a belief that the Pandavas had wronged them. By the 10th day of the Mahabharata war, the Kaurava army was staggering under the might of the Pandavas. Bhishma had fallen and now Dronacharya had taken over as commander-in-chief. Drona was more than just a warrior. He was a tactician, strategist, and master of celestial weapons. Under his leadership, the Kauravas regained momentum. He unleashed havoc upon the Pandava forces, wielding divine astras with terrifying precision. It was on the 11th day that Drona vowed to capture Yudhishthira alive. Not kill him, capture him. He knew Duryodhana wanted to humiliate the Pandavas, and if Yudhishthira could be forced into another game of dice, the war could be ended without further bloodshed. For 2 days he attempted this, but the Pandavas, especially Arjuna, protected Yudhishthira with unbreakable determination. By the 14th day it was clear, as long as Drona remained alive and armed, he was unstoppable. No one could break his formation, no one could face him head on. He even created the deadly Chakravyu, circular formation, which led to Abhimanyu's tragic death. Arjuna's young son was trapped inside and slaughtered by multiple warriors in violation of battle codes. This inflamed Arjuna's fury, but it also highlighted a painful truth. Drona, the great guru, had abandoned dharma in favor of allegiance to the throne. It became clear that Dronacharya had to fall, not because he was evil, but because his power had become a threat to balance. Krishna, the master strategist, told the Pandavas, Drona can only be defeated if he gives up his weapons. He will never do that unless his heart is broken. Krishna's insight was that Drona's only emotional vulnerability was his son Ashwatthama, and thus a plan was formed. Bhima, the most powerful Pandava, sought out and killed an elephant in the Kaurava army, also named Ashwatthama. This was not coincidental, it was deliberate misdirection. Bhima then roared across the battlefield, Ashwatthama is dead. Dronacharya, hearing this, was shaken, but he refused to believe it. He turned to the one man he trusted to never lie, Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira was known as Dharmaraj, the embodiment of truth and virtue. He had never told a lie in his life. Now Krishna urged him to speak a half-truth. When Drona asked, is my son Ashwatthama dead? Yudhishthira responded, Ashwatthama is dead. And then in a softer voice, the elephant. The first part was loud and clear. The second part about the elephant was not very clear, and it was swallowed by the sound of conches and war drums. It was the first lie Yudhishthira ever told, and the moment he spoke it, his chariot, set to float 4 fingers above the ground, touched the earth. A symbol that even the most righteous man was now touched by karma. Drona closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the words. The moment shattered him. He laid down his weapons and sat in meditation, surrendering his soul to the eternal. It was in this moment of surrender that Drishtadumna, son of Drupada, the man whom Drona had humiliated years ago, with one swift stroke, he severed Drona's head. When news of Drona's death reached Ashwatthama, it was as if the sun had shattered within him. The betrayal engineered through deceit and silence transformed the already volatile warrior into a vessel of burning vengeance. Ashwatthama's grief was not private, it became a war cry. He approached Kripacharya and Kritavarma, his last allies, and proposed a final assault, not against warriors in battle, but against innocent in their sleep. As the Pandavas rested in victory, Ashwatthama crept into their camp. But first, beneath an ancient banyan tree, he meditated with clenched fists and a boiling heart. He called upon Lord Shiva not for wisdom but for wrath. Shiva answered not as the peaceful Mahadev, but as Rudra, god of storms and cosmic destruction. He lent Ashwatthama a fragment of his destructive force. What followed was no battle, it was a massacre. Ashwatthama strangled Drishtadumna in his sleep, denied him a warrior's death. Then in one of the most heart-wrenching acts in mythology, in their sleep, Ashwatthama slaughtered the sons of the Pandavas, mistaking them for the heroes themselves. He killed Draupadi's 5 sons, the Upa-Pandavas, and countless others. They died without ever seeing the dawn. When morning broke, it revealed not victory, but ash and bone. Draupadi's cries were not just of a mother, they were the sound of the earth mourning its own children. But Draupadi, even in torment, did not cry for revenge. She demanded justice. Arjuna, her protector and warrior, vowed to capture Ashwatthama alive. Beside him stood Krishna, silent yet watchful, guiding the wheel of fate with divine subtlety. They found Ashwatthama near the banks of the Ganga. He was cornered, but he was not defeated. In desperation, Ashwatthama invoked the Brahmastra, a weapon of unimaginable power, capable of reducing worlds to dust. Arjuna, trained equally, invoked his own Brahmastra. 2 Brahmastras, divine nuclear forces, blazed into the sky, threatening to annihilate the world. As both astras surged towards each other, Vyasa intervened. He ordered Arjuna to withdraw his weapon. Arjuna, steady in spirit, obeyed. Ashwatthama could not. Though his father had taught him how to unleash the Brahmastra, he had never taught him how to withdraw it. Perhaps more significantly, Ashwatthama lacked the clarity, the calmness of mind, the divinity of heart required to control its full power. The retraction of such a weapon required more than a mantra. It required purity of intent, spiritual balance and righteous stillness. Ashwatthama, consumed by rage and grief, could not find that inner stillness. The weapon, now beyond his control, surged towards destruction. So he redirected the Brahmastra, not towards warriors, but towards a womb, towards Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu, who carried the last heir of the Pandava line. She was pregnant wife of Abhimanyu. His intention was to destroy the Pandava lineage. Krishna acted in an instant. He shielded the unborn child, Parikshit, with his divine energy. The child survived, but Ashwatthama had crossed the final threshold. For this terrible act of adharma, Krishna pronounced a curse. You shall live, but not in peace. You shall roam this earth for all eternity. Your body shall bear a wound that never heals. You shall be shunned, diseased and alone, never to die, never to live in peace. This shall be your punishment for your cruelty and for wielding power without conscience. The money, his divine gem, was torn from his forehead. It wasn't just a jewel, it was a piece of his soul. As it was removed, blood poured forth. His scream pierced time. That wound never closed. Ashwatthama, stripped of godhood and kin, became a wanderer, immortal, alone, agonized. To this day, tales surface of a glowing-eyed man seen in Himalayan caves, of a warrior with a bleeding forehead seen praying at midnight in ruined temples. In Madhya Pradesh, near the Narmada river, some believe Ashwatthama comes to temples at night, offering flowers at the altar. Priests speak of unexplained footprints and flickering lamps. Others say he appears in dreams or as a silent figure watching from the edge of ancient forests. Not a ghost, not a god, but the price of unchecked fury. Ashwatthama is one of the 7 Chiranjeevis said to remain alive until the end of Kali Yuga. His name appears in the Puranas, the Bhagavata, and even in later tantric texts, often as a reminder of the dangers of misused power and the burden of vengeance. So, what are the lessons we can learn from Ashwatthama's story that applies to us in this day and age? Ashwatthama's story is not merely one of battle and blood. It is a mirror held up to our own emotions, ambitions, and failures. Gifted beyond compare, he was consumed by power without restraint. In revenge, he lost himself. In holding on to sorrow, he became sorrow itself. We are living at a time where outrage spreads faster than wisdom. Ashwatthama reminds us, power without purpose corrupts. Pain left unhealed poisons everything. His tale warns of unchecked emotion, ambition without compassion, and brilliance undone by ego. Even the divine can fall when they forget dharma. Though blessed by gods and trained by the greatest, he lacked the inner calm to control his deadliest weapon. In a world of overwhelming knowledge and power, his lesson is clear. Mastering the self matters more than mastering the world. And finally, his immortality, a dream for many, became his most painful curse. It serves as a caution that longevity and legacy mean nothing without peace of mind and clarity of heart. Immortality is not always a blessing. He is still out there, perhaps watching, waiting for the end of Kali Yuga, forever wandering, forever cursed. And thus ends the legend of Ashwatthama, eternal wanderer, fallen son, forgotten god. If you like this story, do like, share and subscribe to the channel. That's what drives us to create more videos about Indian mythology and beyond. Until next time.